Have you ever felt stuck? Maybe you just plateaued. Maybe there was more to your business that you could tap into if you just had the right person directing you. If that's ever been you, you're going to love today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus. You are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. We are recording this at the lower.com field in Columbus, Ohio. This dude, born in Des Moines, Iowa. He currently hails in Davenport, Iowa. He once threw out a badass UFC fighter from a bar without knowing who he was. Last month, he funded 40 units for $12+ million in volume. He is my colleague. He is my new friend, John Cornish. John, welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast.
Hey, super happy to be here. Tickled to death.
Yeah, I am really excited. So I've known your name, obviously, from the industry, and you and I share a common friend. Shout out to Tyler Osby, right?
Yeah, Tyler's incredible.
He crushes it. And one of my favorite from that guy. One of my favorite people to learn from, actually.
100%.
He's at Fairway Independent Mortgage. He does some coaching for Tim Brahim. Yep. And he and I've actually shared the stage multiple times, but this is our first time of actually getting to sit down and kind of talk shop.
Let's do it.
And I want the audience to get to know you, but I think get to know your journey in the mortgage industry.
All right.
And more importantly, hear some of your learning lessons. Because yes, you crushed it last month, right?
Yeah,
40 units for $12 million. That's someone's year right now.
In this market, I'm proud of that. I'm not.
You should be very proud. Is that your best month ever?
It is. It's
like ever. Like
Yep.
not even like in 2020 and 2021.
2021, I never got into the 12s. I hit 11 a few times, but never in the 12s.
Wow. And you funded like 96 million or 98 million, didn't you? During that time period?
Yeah, right around 96 and 98 in 2020 and 2021.
So that makes you a mega producer.
Your terms, not mine.
Yes,
okay.
mine. Okay, yeah, they are my terms. I'll own it. Okay,
yeah.
I've been known to throw some off the wall shit out there to see what sticks, but it's the truth. I mean,
I just feel to refer to myself as a mega producer seems a little bit ego, and I'm not a.
That's not you.
That's not me. No.
Right. By the way, I should have mentioned this in your intro, but I didn't. Dude, your shoe collection, just FYI, I know y'all can't see this on YouTube right now, but John's shoe collection is like off the chain. I don't know whose is better, yours, Shant's, or JC's, but all three of you have a pretty badass shoe collection.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, how long have you been collecting for?
It started in 2016. I had like 12 pairs at that time period, shoes that I just couldn't afford when I was a kid, and they came back out again, so I bought them, kept them in my closet, and one Friday I brought them to the office, and a young kid that works for me, who was probably 26 at the time, is like, "Are those retro Jordans?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "We got to get a picture for Facebook." So we put them on there. It was on a Friday, and I got a ton of feedback from it. And he's like, "Do you have any more pairs?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "We'll start wearing them on Fridays." And then I made it a point where I was going to wear a different pair of Jordans every Friday for a year. So then I had to go buy a bunch of them. And then I got addicted to the chase, the StockX, the GOAT, tracking the value and the ones that are hard to get. And I kind of have an obsessive personality. So once I got in, I went all in.
Well, it's funny. I'm sure we'll get into this when we get to know your journey, because basically you got 1% better per day. You just got 1% better at finding, purchasing, valuing shoes, and preferably probably Nikes and preferably Jordans, right?
Really, Jordans is all I do.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. And there's something to be said about like this new trend and all of us old dudes rocking the shoes that I was like you, like my mom's a school bus driver, my dad's an electrician. I remember the first pair of Nike Airs they bought me. My mom wouldn't buy me any nice shoes until my foot quit growing. Yeah. But I got the Bo Jacksons. Yeah. Were mine.
Which color? The orange and blue ones?
No, I would never do orange and blue because those are Gator colors, and I am an anti-Florida Gator.
Okay, there you go.
Unless one of my kids gets into that school. It's a great school, and I would support my daughter going there.
But not until then.
But I still won't wear orange and blue ever together. I will wear blue only.
Gotcha.
No, I think they were white and blue, actually.
Okay.
I think they were white and blue with a little bit of silver or gray in them.
Yep.
But yes, that was like the shoe.
It was the shoe.
So we're going to get into your journey,
Perfect.
Okay, and how you got started. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Open Door. I mentioned that you and I are at the lower.com field in Columbus, Ohio. You're an Iowa guy. I'm a Florida guy. but we work for the lower company.
Yep.
Right. And you are here and I am here and there's another 100 LOs here all celebrating sales and celebrating togetherness and networking. And Open Door is one of the sponsors who made that happen, right? Because this shit's not cheap and you need good partners. So shout out to Open Door. In fact, here's a quick word from me about Open Door.
Loan officers, if you're anything like me, you've probably never even thought to partner with Open Door. Well, I'm here to tell you, rethink that thought process. Here's why. How many times have you had a buyer or a borrower wanting to purchase that next home, but they couldn't get an offer accepted because they had to sell their home first and no sellers were willing to accept an offer with a contingency? Open Door has a solution and they're willing to work with your realtor partners. And Open Door is perfect for buyers wanting simplicity and convenience. As long as the home is not already listed in the MLS, they will pay your referring agent a 1% commission when they buy your borrower's home. Open Door's been around for over 10 years and they operate in 50 different markets. So do yourself a favor, do your referral sources a favor, and look to Open Door the next time you have a borrower who needs to get a home sold quickly and conveniently and can't mess with the stress of listing the home for sale in the MLS.
All right, so John, you're one of the few that you graduated college and your very first job was?
Wells Fargo Financial.
Mortgage.
Credit manager, yes.
Was it mortgage or was it credit manager?
Well, it was both. I sold everything from credit cards to personal loans to mortgages, home equity lines. It was everything.
Did you grow up wanting to be a mortgage banker?
No. No.
What did you grow up wanting to do?
Play baseball.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wasn't good enough.
I had that same exact problem. You know, I grew up in Florida. You would play year round. I have a state championship ring.
Yep.
But then there came a point where I wasn't D1 talent.
Yep.
And not being D1 talent, I was like, do I really want to continue playing or not? And I put the sport down until I picked it up actually at 38.
Nice.
Yeah, but now I don't play anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to be a professional baseball player. So when that didn't work out, you graduate college and you go into mortgage banking.
Yep.
Ish.
Yeah, that's not how exactly it worked out, but yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, so you got your start working for Wells.
Yep.
And then how many years were you in that credit kind of consumer facing banking before you went all in on mortgage?
4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
And then was your first stint with Wells?
No, it was not. It was with a local regional bank. I'll leave the names out of it, but I was recruited out of Wells Fargo Financial into a regional bank that was trying to grow their mortgage platform.
Okay. And then if you go back and remember, what were those? And I'm just trying to paint like a before so we can get to the after. We know what the after. We've kind of already teased the after last month. Holy crap, right? But the before, for those that are tuning in that maybe are newly licensed or maybe they're thinking about getting into the industry, you obviously had, I'm guessing a decent experience those first 4 years working at Wells. Then you transitioned to a local regional bank that we will keep the name out. Yep. And you're all in on being a mortgage lender. What year is this roughly?
2003 was when I went into the credit manager position. I think it was 2007. September of 2007.
What a great time.
People say that, but I actually think it was a great time. I actually think there's a huge value in me getting into the mortgage industry as it kind of imploded because I didn't have any choice but to succeed. We were expecting my first child. I knew that I was going to have to figure out we decided that my wife was going to stay home. So I just had to figure a way out to succeed. And the first couple of years, everybody, all they did was walk around talking about how things used to be. Can't believe we have to verify income. I can't believe we don't have this program. I never had those at Wells Fargo Financial, so that kind of helped me out. But I just, out of fear, put my head down and worked and said, I got to figure out a way to make this work. I had a 12-month draw, which gave me a little bit of, security, but I knew how quickly that was going to run out. And I had to figure out a way immediately how I was going to generate enough revenue to replace that draw and be comfortable, moving forward.
I'm glad you said that because a question that we get all the time, like literally all the time is now a good time to get into the industry? And I'm the first person to say the best time to get into this industry is when you're ready, But yes, I would say now is a better time to get in than 2020 and 2021, only because
agree.
you have two choices.
Yeah.
Get good or get gone.
Correct.
That's it.
In 20 and 21, you couldn't help but be successful in this industry. So the people that got in then, they saw success and it was too easy. So then when that gets taken away, it's almost worse than starting from scratch, in my opinion. You have unrealistic expectations of how things are going to be, and then you kind of get the rug pulled out from underneath you, and you have to recreate yourself. Like, okay, that was way too easy. So to me, it worked out well.
So 2007, 2008, even into 2009, market's pretty cruddy.
Yeah.
You're head down, blinders on, you're grinding.
Yep.
How long did it take you before you were consistently generating 20, 30 leads a month, consistently funding 4 or 5 transactions a month? And what do you attribute the success you had that got you to that level?
I got there pretty quick. I would tell you that I got to that my first full year.
Okay.
I think I did 19 million my first full year.
Wow. Was that 2008, 2000?
That was in 2008, I
Okay.
believe. Don't quote me on the exact year, but I think I did 19 million in 2008.
Which would have been over 100 units in your market, I'm guessing.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
It was over 100 units. How did I do it? The products that I sold at Wells Fargo Financial were not competitive. I'll just
Yes.
leave it at that, and they weren't even close. So when I was given an opportunity to sell products that were competitive, the sales portion of it felt really easy.
Okay.
And the one thing that made me get out of the Wells Fargo Financial is they hire people right out of college with no experience. And at first, you think you're selling the best product that's out there, so you think you're doing what's right by people. And then a couple years in, you realize that there's other products that are available. And I wasn't becoming friends, and I realized with my clients, and I wasn't going out and, like, if I saw them at the grocery store, I wouldn't talk to them and they wouldn't come talk to me. I wanted to create a business that was referral based. So the transition was pretty easy because the product that I offered was much more competitive. And I just put my head down and I talked to as many people as I possibly could.
I was going to say, like, if you're giving advice to someone new getting started based on your success,
Yeah.
but hey, look, I'm somebody who did 100 units in his first full year, then, which by the way, that's badass. It took me my second year.
Yeah, which
right.
is
I
still
got in
incredible.
04. 05 was struggle bus. Like, I made like 48 grand, but back then we only made 55 basis points,
Yep.
y'all. Like, we didn't make 100, 125, 150 basis points like some of y'all are making now.
Yeah.
But it was 2006, I finally did. I think I still like the number, like 126 units. Like, I knew that number for 26.2 million because it was like my moment of, oh, I made it. So when you're giving advice to somebody who's getting started or who's just still, I mean, heck, they may be in year one, but for the 7th or 9th time, right? Because they're still trying to generate the leads. What is something that you did that worked that you think would still work today?
I just called people.
You called people.
I
Any
called
people
people.
or like you called realtors, builders, financial advisors?
I didn't start off with the realtors because I kind of waited on that because it's like, okay, I wanted to work with the good realtors in the market and I wanted to be confident enough in my ability to execute before I went after those agents. So it was just reaching out to consumers first. So I literally, there's a website in the Quad Cities at that time called QC FSBO, Quad City For Sale by Owner. I just called the people on there because they were selling their house and therefore they had to purchase another home. So I just called to introduce myself to them. I went and I kept track of everything and I put them in my database. And my goal that first year was actually more to grow my database than it was about production. Production was a byproduct of the focus on getting as many people into my database. And a lot of time at that time period, because rates hadn't dropped, there wasn't anything that I could do for people. But I tried to make an impact on them so they knew who I was. And that way, when things came back around and there was an opportunity for them, I could call them and it was a lot easier. So that was, I just picked up the phone and I called.
So I have
Nonstop.
several questions now. Like,
All
I'm
right,
going to
take
go
it.
down a rabbit hole. But first and foremost, every time y'all say Quad City, I go Quad City DJs.
Gotcha.
Like Cotton Candy, Sweet as Gold. Let me see that Tootsie Roll. But nonetheless,
left,
they were,
to the
yeah,
left.
yes.
Yeah.
They were just in concert. So University of Central Florida, UCF has a concert series before every football game.
Okay.
And it was 95 South, Quad City DJs were the actual concert.
Yep.
So I legitimately just saw them like 3 weeks ago in concert, which was pretty awesome.
Yep.
All right. So that was my rabbit hole. But let me get back onto my actual question. How many calls were you making? Like, if you were to guess.
Probably 100 a day.
Yes,
And it was a lot.
Yeah, but 100 a day.
Yeah, and I wasn't tracking it, and I don't know how many leads I did. I didn't do, and I'm still not great at that type of stuff, but I just kept going.
No, but and the reason why I like hammering that down, because what we do, there is no secret sauce. There's also no secrets.
You just got to work.
Yes, you got to work. Make your freaking calls.
Yep.
But you understood database. Not many people understand that early on in their career.
Yep.
Where did that come from?
You know, it came from, my dad had a very successful career in car sales. And even though it's a completely different product that we're selling, he just always told me, and I was very close to him, and we talked a lot, is like, if you take care of people and work hard and do what's right by them, they're going to take care of you. So again, it was like, okay, I don't have any past customers. I just got to create these customers, and I can't decide when somebody needs a mortgage, right? That's something that I cannot control. I'm not Coca-Cola or Subway where you can use my product every day. My thing was, I wanted to make an impression on these people. So when they did have a mortgage need, I got an at-bat. And when I got an at-bat, my batting average is pretty good.
Yeah. Love it. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
Because we know your backstory,
Yep.
right, at this standpoint. But in the soft intro, for those that remember it at this standpoint, like I mentioned people plateauing.
Yep.
People feeling maybe stuck in a rut.
Yep.
And you had a point in your career where you were working 80 hours a week.
Yep.
Now you had built yourself up from doing 17 or 19 million in your first full year to where you were consistently doing about 40 million a year.
Yeah, I think I did 36 in 2009. And then after that, from like the next 8 years, I did it between 30 and 40 million. I might have hit 51 one year when the market was better, but
okay.
I stayed in that 30 to 40 pretty consistently. Yeah. And that makes me,
Yeah. Well, you plateaued.
I did.
Right. But you were working 80 hours a week.
Yes.
Like
and
you
that's
were,
no exaggeration.
Yeah.
I mean, I was coming home at 8 o'clock. I'd be home one night a week for dinner. I was putting in a ton of work.
And
I did everything myself, no scalability, no systems, no processes. I did it so wrong for so long.
Yeah. And that's what I want to dive into. Like, first and foremost, I want people to do recognize and understand just about anyone who has achieved your level of success, like they've done the 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Nothing changes. We push ourselves to a limit before we're like, we can't take this anymore.
Yep.
Something has to give. Something has to change. I mean, for me, I remember, so my oldest was, I guess at the time, 6 or 7, right? So then my youngest was like 4. And he said to me, Dad, are you going to come home tonight for dinner? And that hit so hard that I put in a rule. And the rule was not that I was going to miss dinners. The rule was I wasn't going to miss consecutive dinners.
There you go.
So if I missed Tuesday, I had to be home Wednesday.
Yep.
I could never miss Wednesday and Thursday back to back.
Yep.
But there was a level of sacrifice that my family had to buy into, and that I was willing to take on, because I knew it was going to be temporary as long as I stayed in growth mode.
Correct.
And I focused on getting 1% better per day.
Yep.
So something changed. You had a catalyst that changed in your world. And I want you to talk about that for the audience tuning in, because obviously you're on pace to be a consistent $100 million producer, and you work how many hours a week now?
I would tell you I'm probably back up to 50.
Okay, back up. That means you got down to 40.
I did get back down to 40. I would tell you during 20 and 21, I was probably 40 to 45. I knew what was coming after 20 and 21 because I lived through 08 and 09. And honestly, out of fear of what was unexpected, I just said, listen, the thing that I know I'm good at is I can work extremely hard. Like I that comes naturally to me. So I just put my head down and said, okay, these next couple of years are going to be difficult. The way that I'm going to win is by working harder in 2022 and 23 than I did in 20 and 21. So I amped it up a little bit, but still nothing like the quality of life was a day and night difference than it was before.
Yeah,
and I did that. I mean, the original plan was, when my kids were younger, I knew that I'd have to put in the work to get where I wanted to, for when they got older, I could have a little bit better quality of life. And my wife is incredible. So it was a team game, because obviously if I'm working until 8 o'clock every night, we have 3 kids and we had 2 girls that were very close together. That put a lot on her shoulders, and it was a team game, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the plan. I knew I was going to have to put that work in.
Do you, in today's world, do you have the ability to go on a 1-week vacation and be left alone?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and if I get involved, it's because I want to be, and I'm a little bit addicted, and I'm a little bit obsessed, not because I have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you love what you do.
I do.
You love your business. You love
Yep.
your team. You love your referral sources.
Yep.
Yes, it's hard to unplug, but you're not plugged in because you have to be. It's because
No, I'm here
you're
today,
obsessed.
and I'm not looking at my phone, and my team is taking care of everything, and they can handle our customers and our referral partners.
Cool. So that's how the story ends.
Yep.
We're going to circle back because we're at the apex of your story.
Yep.
Where you're consistently doing 30, 40 million. Maybe one year you hit 51 million.
Yep.
But you're a hot mess. You're not scalable. You're working 80 hours a week. And you're stuck at that 40 million, which, by the way, 40 million is an amazing accomplishment. Like,
Yeah.
there's many people who that's their career goal. And if they were able to do that for 10 years in a row, they would have made more money than they ever thought they'd make. They could have saved more money and potentially changed their community and retired, better than they wanted.
There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what your goal is to do 40, I think that's incredible. That wasn't for me.
Yeah, there was more. There was more to it.
Yeah.
So what changed? What's the one, looking back, the one change you made that allowed you to?
Can I give you two?
Yes.
All right. So the first one was my best friend, my business partner now, Andy Stewart. We were roommates in college. We were both in the mortgage industry. He was working his way up the operations chain while I was, in sales. And with sales, I wanted to grow roots. I didn't want to bounce around multiple places, but we always knew at some point we wanted to work together. He was basically my free consultant of building this platform for the regional bank. So, hey, I need a new government investor that goes below 620 credit scores. How are you interpreting this guideline change? Like, I reached out to him because we didn't really have the resources at the bank.
So you were sales, Andy was ops.
Correct.
But is this the same Andy in Chicago that has like his own radio show?
Doesn't have his own. That's David Hochberg.
That's David Hochberg.
Yeah, so
okay.
Hochberg and Andrew Stewart and David Hicks and I are partners. So,
very cool.
Yeah. So when I reached out to Andy, this was when the bank that I was working for was not prepared for TRID at all. We actually didn't do any training before the first release. The second release was about to come out.
Were you? I won't name that. Everyone. I was thinking, were you using a certain LOS that also wasn't ready for TRID?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we were in Calyx Point at that point.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about.
Yeah. So I called him and said, hey man, I need some help. Like, what are we going to do? Like, what can I do to do this? And he goes, dude, I love you. And he goes, we can keep doing this and I can be a pro bono consultant, or you can stop being a pussy and we can start working together. Hopefully it's okay to use that word on your podcast.
Yes.
So that was the first one. And that was a realization for me. And it was a comfort thing that, again, I had $40 million. I was making enough money to support my family. There was nothing that was really broken, but I knew I wanted more, and I knew I was handcuffed by the place that I was working for. That was the first thing. So within 90 to 120 days, I was out of the banking world and opened up my own branch of an independent mortgage company, which was kind of new to our market. And I was actually told that it would never work by the bank and the people that I was around. Like, you need a depository bank. People aren't going to do business with a mortgage company. I have proof to tell you that was wrong, and it was very wrong.
Yeah, we all probably have those stories.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, we'll just say Paul R.
There you go.
Okay, Paul R. telling me when I was leaving his bank, where he was a regional, to go work for this small independent mortgage bank called Waterstone, that it was a career suicide.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yep.
16 years later.
Yep.
Millions of dollars earned, personal income.
Yep.
Amazing friendships developed.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it was career suicide.
No, and I don't have any ill will for the people that were there, and I think that they were being honest with me. I think that's actually what they thought.
That's what they felt. Yeah,
they did.
Yep.
But I you shouldn't let other people's doubt in themselves limit your abilities and what you're willing to do, because we had different motivations and we're very different people.
Okay, so your first thing that changed was your setting. Like you went and found an opportunity that had a higher ceiling.
100%.
It had more synergized professionals that were willing to think as big as you could think, and maybe even force you to think even bigger.
100%.
Okay.
Where all, again, when you're working for a bank, there's resources that go towards multiple departments. Where I got into something that all time, money, and energy was focused on mortgage. And that was actually the pitch that I use when I talk to my agents is, listen, this is all we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care about commercial loans. I don't care about checking accounts. We do mortgages and that's it. So I surrounded myself with people that were better at things that I was. And I think when you do that, you can't help but to grow. So that was the first one. Are you ready for me to dig into the second one?
Yeah, fire away.
So the second one, This is probably 2017, maybe 2018. So hired a young kid who works with us today still named Louis Wickett. Great kid. He was actually introduced to me by two agents. They called me and said, hey, this young kid from out of town took me out for coffee. I'm never going to do business with him because he works for Wells Fargo and we can't help Wells, but you got to meet this kid and you got to hire him.
Wow.
And I knew right away that I was going to hire him. I just brought on two other kids that were out of college and on salary, so I didn't have the means at that time period. And his wife was in pre-PA school, so he needed more of a guaranteed income. Hired him, let's say 12 months later, and after his first year, we were going over the goals for a second year. In his first year, he absolutely killed it, by the way.
Wow.
Killed it, by the way. And I knew he would. I knew he was handcuffed. I saw very similar in him what I saw in myself. So we're going over goals, and he gives me his goals, and I think it was, I'm going to do $20 million. And I was like, okay, that's good. But I'm like, dude, you can do more than that. Like, you're better than that. I want you to raise the bar and your expectations. Let's shoot for 25 and close enough to where those numbers are close enough accurate for the story to make sense.
Okay.
He's like, okay. He goes, I can get behind that. He goes, well, what about you? What are your goals? This is a kid who's been working for me for less than a year, who's maybe 26 at the time, and he calls me out, and I still love it. Like, I love being called out. And I told him, I was like, well, I'm just going to continue to do my $40 million a year, and I'm going to, help you guys grow. And he goes, man, that's weak. He goes, with as long as you've been doing this and the respect that you have in the industry and the momentum that you have in the industry, you should be doing $100 million of production. And to me, at that time period, $100 million of production, he might as well have said, you can do a gazillion dollars. Like,
Correct.
It was an unattainable goal.
Yes.
But he said, he goes, I want you to hire a coach. I want you to challenge yourself to take your business to the next level.
He told you to hire a coach, the 26-year-old kid.
Yes.
Okay.
Said I should hire a coach, Kai McBride. He did.
Kai McBride?
Yeah.
He was one of my first coaches.
He was
literally
my first.
Tom Ward, Kai McBride, Rene Rodriguez were like probably the three people that were instrumental in my career 15 years ago or 12 years ago.
Yep.
Shout out to Kai.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm at a place now that I definitely would never be if that wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
So not only, and he wanted to hire a coach as well. And I think we made an agreement that, listen, I'm going to pick up half your coaching or whatever it is, as long as you do this. So we did coaching together, and that was an absolute game changer.
Coaching was
100%.
What you have some unique philosophies on coaching. What are your philosophies on? Are you a coach yourself?
Listen, not outside of my business. So I coach all the loan officers that want to be coached by me in our entire division. So not only my offices in Iowa, but the offices that I share with Dave, and Andy. I do group coaching, and then I do a lot of one-on-one as well. But I don't have a coaching business.
Okay. And are you currently coached?
I am. I actually just hired Kai again.
Okay.
For kind of a project. So I would almost say it's more of a consultant.
Yes.
Coaching for me is a little bit different. I hired Amir and Go Coaching as well, and they really helped reinvent me and help me put together my week a little bit more organized and incorporate time blocking. And I told him, I was like, hey, listen, we're going to roll this out by this date. And then I'm going to perfect it for the next 3 months. So when January 1st comes around, this is going to be my new normal. And I just did that with the Go Coaching plan. Coaching for me is a little bit different, where I don't need the motivation. And I honestly don't really need the accountability, because a coach isn't going to motivate me more than my wife and kids. Number one, that's what makes me get up every day. Like, that's the reason that I do everything that I do, is to provide an example for them, and whatever it is that they're doing, we do things the right way. So you want to be a good volleyball player, that's great. We're going to map out how you're going to be a good volleyball player. You want to be a great dancer, that's great. Here's the things we need to do. My 10-year-old son, who wants to play Division I baseball, he's got a schedule and a plan and a regiment, and I use what I've learned from coaching to implement and help them as well. But I don't really need that accountability piece, because that's my motivation. The second motivation is the people that I lead. Like, I'm going to lead by example, and I do that because it's hard for one of my loan officers that work for me that I coach to tell me that they can't do something or they don't have time when I'm doing it right now. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you don't have any kids, you're not running a team, and you don't have time to do it, but I can show you that I'm consistently having time to do it. It removes the crutches and the excuses. So it's leading by example. So that's kind of for me. So moving forward, when I have a project that I want to work on or a part of my business that I want to improve, I'm going to hire a coach to help me come up with a plan. And then Lindsay on my team is the one that helps me hold me accountable, not from a motivation standpoint of, hey, listen, this is what we're supposed to do per week. You only have 2 break breads, scheduled. You need 1 more. Or, hey, listen, you need to get this video out for the month. You're doing 1 per month. You got to do this. So that's kind of how I've transitioned into coaching.
Yeah, you know what word I love anymore? Instead of accountability, I even tell them, my team hears this all the time. Produce me. Like, produce me. What does a producer do for their talent?
Yeah.
Right? Just put me in the right spaces with the right people. Make sure I say the right things. And if I'm not doing them, then you need to come to me and say, hey, look, as your producer, I need to wind you up and let you go. And right now you're not giving it back to me.
Yep.
And it's worked really well. I love what you said about coaching. I look at coaching, for me, probably similar to you. I love to train and work out.
Yep.
But I don't always have a personal trainer. I don't always have a dietitian. I'm not opposed to hiring one, but it just depends on the season that I'm in. So I like to have a gym membership. In fact, I have 2 different gym memberships because of where I live, depending on which drive I'm going home.
Yep.
One gym's on one side of town, one gym's on the other. And then occasionally I hire a coach. I've treated my business that way. Like, I will attend conferences like we're doing here at Lower. Then I may go to a mastermind summit.
Yep.
Then I may hire a coach for 6 months. Then I may say, like, hey, leave me alone. I have enough on my plate right now, and I'll circle back in 9 months, which is why when we started this podcast, and it's going to be a shameless plug, so bear with me for a second, never once did I say I wanted to own a coaching company. But the listeners were raising their hand, and they're like, dude, I learned more from you than I do my branch manager. And first I was like, well, that's sad. You should probably find a branch manager more like John Cornish, because your branch manager should be your first resource. They should be your mentor. They should have systems and processes that you tie into.
Yep.
And if they don't, and you want some recommendations, literally reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will hook you up with my friends throughout the industry, regardless of what company they work for. But I launched a coaching community that I based on things that I liked. And it's like, look, y'all, if you want to be more successful, iron sharpens iron. Birds of a feather flock together. You need to learn from top producers, and we give you that opportunity to do it. I just treat mine differently. It's a membership. It's $250 a month. It's 8 live coaching calls. 3 are with me, 5 are with my coaches, and every one of my coaches earns $250,000 or more in commission doing loans for a living. So that way I know you're at least being trained by active top producers. And I have brokers, I have bankers, I have men, I have women, I have 5 years in the industry, and I have 25 years in the industry. And you don't have to pick the TLOP coaching community, because there's Kai, there's Tim, there's Amir.
Yep.
But you should definitely look at what are you getting and who you're hanging out with.
Yeah,
so
and
John,
you can also get, like, I did a sales retreat for the guys that I coached 2 or 3 weeks ago down in Tampa, and I was technically the teacher.
Oh, what a terrible time to go down to Tampa.
Yeah, we were right in between both of the
hurricanes. Yeah,
and I was down there as the teacher. I think I learned as much, if not more, than the guys that were down there. So, like, I'm learning from the people that I'm coaching, because there's things that they're better. So I'm just a constant sponge of ideas. And with podcasts and social media, there's not a lack of information. I think what there's a lack of is there's a lack of discipline, and there's a lack of execution. Like, even the people that are here today, like, if you get all these great ideas and the content has been incredible, if you leave it in your head, that doesn't do anything. You got to bring it back, and you got to implement it, and you got to do it consistently, and you got to do it over and over and over again and get better with it.
And no one can do it for you. I mean, literally,
it's on you. It is on you.
Yes. The one thing that I always, and I'll probably leave the audience with this today when I get a chance to speak with Amir, but it's like, look, you have 6 ideas. Pick one.
Yeah.
Pick one. Spend the next 3, 6, 9 months implementing it, turning it into habit. Then look at your list.
Yep.
And then find what was your second favorite idea and go with it.
Yep.
So let's do this so we can put like a nice little bow on today's episode, and you and I can go grab some lunch before the second half of the session kicks off. What does the future look like for John Cornish? Like, what's exciting you about the 2025s into the 2030s?
So I'll talk about it from an individual production standpoint, and I'll talk about it from a leadership standpoint. Individual production standpoint, I feel bulletproof right now. I feel mentally unshakable that I can handle anything that's thrown at me, because the last 2 years have been extremely hard, and I've created a more disciplined version of myself, and I've grown my business when most people's business went down.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen. That's why I put my head down. So from an individual standpoint, my team is as dialed up as it has ever been. And I know that I can continue to grow this. And I just want to, I get satisfaction out of getting the most I can out of my potential. I think that's something from a faith standpoint. And I also lost a brother to cancer when I was 8 years old. And I feel like I owe it to him to give as much, to make as much out of my life as I possibly can. So that's from an individual production standpoint. Probably what motivates me more is a leadership standpoint, because I think I've accomplished some pretty decent things as a producer. I want to do some great things as a leader. So my focus as a leader is, if I can help the people that I'm coaching and that I'm leading find the financial success, the freedom, the joy out of their career, and the overall just happiness and fulfillment in life, that for me is when I will feel like I've accomplished something. So like that's the driving force behind me right now. And I think that's what the next challenge is. And that's for my individual production team, but also the multiple loan officers that I coach in our division overall. I just want to see them all be happy when I see that they're happier. And I know there's better time coming from them, and they've been putting in the work consistently, and I'm really excited to see that.
Dude, I love that. So last question, you get to go back 20 years, you get to talk to the 22, 23-year-old version of yourself. What are you telling that young kid?
You got to constantly surround yourself by people that inspire you and motivate you and hold you accountable. That 8-year time period that I was in, that I was stuck in a rut, because I was surrounded by the wrong people. It was mediocrity, and it honestly makes me sick to my stomach thinking about it. I wish I would have challenged myself a little bit earlier, and I wish I would have had less fear, and I wish I would have not listened to the people at the bank that told me that it was going to be career suicide basically, and that I couldn't do it. And listen to more people in my life that were telling me, John, you don't need the bank. This is you. That's probably the biggest thing that I would change, but I don't really have any regret, because I'm happy where I'm at now. So part of the pain that we go through is part of the story. And listen, I learned by burning my hand on the stove multiple times. And when I talk about coaching, I tell people, listen, I still don't have it figured out. It's a constant evolution. But I've done it wrong for a long period of time. So because of that, I can help you do it right quicker, because I'd made mistakes myself that you don't have to. Learn from my mistakes. Yeah. So that's probably the one thing that I would change. I'd also probably buy more retro Jordans 20 years ago, because they'd be worth a lot more money now.
That, maybe some NVIDIA, some Amazon, some Tesla stock. Yeah, no, I say that about the learning thing. I go, just let me help you shorten your learning curve.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go out and make mistakes.
Yep.
But what if you only had to make 2 mistakes, because I made 7?
Correct.
And we can learn from 5 of mine, but 2 you have to go learn on your own. Yep. Let me help you shorten that learning curve. If people want to follow you, connect with you, potentially be led by you, right? Like, that's an opportunity that someone like you presents to this industry, to the future of mortgage. How does someone connect with John Cornish?
Website's qchomeloan.com. You can follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. I'm on the socials.
You're not on LinkedIn, though.
I'm not on LinkedIn.
I tried looking for you on LinkedIn. I couldn't find you.
I have a frozen LinkedIn account from my banking days. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm still working at that regional bank. And the picture is from when I was like 29 years old. So I haven't done a good job with
Facebook,
LinkedIn.
Instagram,
TikTok.
As John Cornish.
John Cornish, home loan consultant, I believe.
Okay, but your website's probably a great one. What's that again?
QCHomeloan.com.
QCHomeloan.com.
QuadCityHomeloan.com.
Beautiful.
Yep.
And if anyone is interested in the TLOP MLO coaching community that I discussed, it's tloponline.com. You can go there. I have an entire team. They'll give you a demo. They'll let you see behind the scenes. It's not for everybody, but if it is for you, I will offer you this. It's the best bang for buck that's being offered in terms of what you get for your dollars spent. Make sure you have subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, I say thank you. 5-star reviews are highly recommended, and sharing is caring. He is John Cornish. I am Dustin Owen. You have just tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast. That is all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.